Hey Programming 11, it's time to make those buttons clickable, and I wanted to show you another sketch first before we do that. It's a little demonstration sketch, and what it's doing is showing you this lovely circle and it's showing you some other information as well. So this lovely circle is showing has 150 as its radius, and then as I'm moving the mouse around, you'll see it's drawing a line from the center of the circle to the mouse, and then it types it up there how far away the mouse is from the center of that circle. So it's saying it's 237, almost 238 pixels away, and 150 pixels is the width. So the reason I'm showing you this is because this is what's gonna turn into the calculation of am I clicking on this button or not. So as you can see, the relationship between that green line and clicking on the button is if the green line, the distance between the center of the circle and the mouse pointer, is greater than the radius, I'm not touching the circle with the mouse. See, all the places where I'm not touching the circle, these are all, that distance is always greater than 150. But check it out. If I go inside the circle, all these places that are inside the circle where my mouse is, really just right on the edge as well of the circle, those are places where, or XY coordinates for the mouse, where the distance is less than the radius of the circle. So hopefully that makes sense. That's going to be sort of our guiding mathematical principle. Computers can't really do much else than math, but you can turn all sorts of questions like, am I clicking on this button, into concrete math. So that's going to be the math. Is the distance between the center of the circle and our mouse pointer, is it less than the radius of the button circle? That's going to be our math. Okay, so let's go make some buttons clickable. I'm going to put this demonstration sketch away. I'm going to go back to our little, I don't know, coffee colored stuff because I'm feeling the need for some coffee right now. So what I would like to do is make it so I click on this light color, and then the box changes to match the color. If I click on the medium color, it'll change to be the medium, and so on. So I want to make these buttons control the color of this square here. So let's go and make that happen. We'll start by just coding in the button for the light brown, I guess, first. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the end of the draw function. Actually, I'm just going to throw in these nice little comments that help us remember where is the end of our functions, our function definitions. So we want to go beyond the end of the draw function. So notice as we go up, whoops, I left a little thing there, whatever. We go beyond the final brace. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up a new function definition. This is another built-in one. Very much like draw and setup, there are other built-in function definitions that we can create ourselves. So the function definition is pre-existing, but we can change what it means ourselves. So let's go ahead and do that. So this one's going to be called void mouse. There's a whole bunch of them. I think I'm going to do mouse released. But there's actually a few choices here. We'll just keep it simple and start with mouse released. So I'll just put in a little comment to remind myself that this is where that ends. Okay, so void mouse release, you can see it turned green, so we know it's a built-in function definition. So it has something that, processing is aware of this one and will call it in special situations. And I bet you can guess what is the situation where it calls the code that's in this function. It's when you click and then release the mouse. So whenever you release the mouse, which means therefore you've clicked the mouse, the code in here is going to be called. Ooh, oh dear. I'm so boring. I'm boring myself. Where's that coffee? Anyways, so what I'm going to do is now take that math and put it into this mouse release function. I know I'm releasing the mouse, so I'm going to make a nice if statement to check if I'm clicking on the light color. So up here we have circle. This is the circle I want, so it's at 100, 100. So I want to check to see if the distance from 100, 100 to the mouse pointer is less than the radius, which also happens to be 100. You know, I'm, I might be wrong. It might actually be the diameter of the circle. I guess we'll find out shortly. Uh, hmm. Yeah, you know what? That's the diameter. I actually been lying to you. It's not a radius. That's a diameter. So the radius, we're gonna have to take half of that. So it's gotta be 50. Okay, so let's go do that. So in mouse released, I'm gonna ask a question when I release the mouse. I'm gonna say, hey, if the distance between the center of the circle and the mouse pointer is less than 50. So the less than 50 part's pretty easy. But how do we code in the distance? So it turns out there's a distance function. It's called dist. And we put in the kind of 2 points, an xy for the first point. So that's going to be 100, 100. That's going to be the center of the circle. And the second point is going to be for us mouse x and mouse y, which are two built-in variables that are um, keeping track of where the mouse is. And I think I'm just going to tighten this up. Usually I like to spread these out, but in an if statement, I like to kind of tighten it up a bit, just so it doesn't take up so much space. There we go. So let's see. What should we do? Well, something's got to change. Something's got to become, you know, different. So our square right now, I'd like to be able to apply some color to it. So how do I do that? I'm going to have a fill, and then I want to have some kind of variable in here that's going to change whenever I click on certain buttons. So what should I do? So I'm going to go and make a new color variable. So this is my palette, and now I'm going to have, I don't know, variables that keep track of selected colors for color selections. So I'm going to have a color variable called indicator. I don't know, selected color, I guess. I'll say that. Okay. So the default selected color I'm going to have is going to be, I don't know, what do I have right now? Looks like the default is dark brown. So I'm going to keep that as our default for the initial selected color. So in my setup, I'm going to initialize that variable. I'm going to say, what was it, dark brown? Yeah, it's dark brown. Sorry, I'm jumping around. So I'm going to say selected color equals dark brown. And so I'm going to fill with selected color. And if I run this, we'll see that nothing's really changed. It's still going to be that brown color. But now this is cool because this isn't like saying like purple or brown or something. This is a place that holds a color. So we can change its value. So in here, I can set, I'm like, oh, look, I clicked on that light colored circle. So I can set selected color to light brown. So selected color is now going to be light brown, and then we'll fill the square with that color. So if I run it, let's see if it works. Boom! It did it! Woohoo! We've turned that circle into a button. Awesome. How do I do the next one? Like that one doesn't, these ones don't work yet. And the reason they don't work is because I don't have this if statement that's attached to them. So I guess I will probably put in a comment just to say light brown button. But I think it's pretty easy to see. Like even though that's code is kind of mumble jumble, not obvious. We do see the word light brown in there, so it's not too bad. But I'm going to do all these with comments just to be really clear. So the next button is the medium brown button. And I'm going to do the same thing, but this time I want to check the distance between not 100, 100, but whatever the medium bound button is, and that's 100, 300. So I guess it's pretty obvious this button's lower down, right? So that's why the y coordinate's bigger. So it's going to look very similar, but this time I'm putting in the medium brown button's coordinates, and of course mouse x, mouse y, and this button also has a radius of 50. So that's great. And then if I click on this button, the consequence should be different, right? I do want to change the selected color, but not to light brown. I want to change it to medium brown. And so I'll run this and just see if that works. So I click here, that works. If I click here, hey, that works too. Now I can click on both of them. All right, last one. And again, the same idea should apply here. I'm just going to copy and paste the whole thing, except that this is the dark brown button. Dark button? What? Dark brown button. And I am going to change it. Oh, they all expanded. Oh well, that's okay. I'm going to change it so that I use the coordinates for my dark brown circle. So that's 500. Everything else remains the same. That remains the same because they're the same size. And this changes. Instead of setting the selected color to medium brown, I want to select dark brown. So now all my buttons are enabled. So I can click on these different things and select different colors. That's pretty rad. So I just want to zoom out a little bit. How do I? Just to show you the different parts of this program to make sure it's really clear. I want to maybe just set the font a little bit lower so we can see a little bit more at a time. So you notice that. Maybe I'll even collapse these a bit. So you'll notice that we have our void mouse released function, which kind of takes care of our, am I clicking on a button? I mean, this takes care of the fact that it's clicking, right? This code only happens when you click and release the mouse. So once you've released the mouse, you can start asking questions about what the mouse was doing. So I can put button code into this mouse released function. So this and this are all basically just seeing, hey, was the mouse inside this particular button when I released it? And then this is the consequence of what happens if that was true. And then otherwise, my draw function is just drawing the user interface. So that's the main difference between the two things. The graphic user interface will be drawn in draw, and the logic of what's happening is going to be in mouse released. There's still, though, a connection back, right? If you want this to change how things are drawn, like in our program here, we're changing the color of that internal, color of the rectangle or square or whatever. You do have to have this consequence here affect something that is in the draw function, and that's right here. That's the fill selected color right before the square, so that these buttons will control that variable, and that variable controls the color of the square. So that's how that all works. I hope that made sense. How are you feeling about that? Is that straightforward or is that really hard? I don't know. So why don't you go ahead and make your own version of this. You can I would just kind of put aside this video for a bit and go make yourself at least one button. Just, a button, or maybe actually two buttons. I think you have to make two buttons because then you can click back and forth. I don't care what the colors are, but just try to, change the color. It could just be the background, or it could be a shape, it could be the stroke of a line, whatever you think, and see what you can do. Okay, thanks everybody. I'll come back in another video in a couple minutes. Oh, wait, that wasn't the stop button. I'll try again. Bye.